Okay, in this last segment for using color range to make a selection, the last thing that we're going to do is to actually change the color. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this one. You should already have a refined color range selection, and you can see here, okay, as I go back to Photoshop, I still have my selection. If you accidentally don't have your selection, go back to the your selection in the channels panel, and again, you can hold down your command or control key, click on that little thumbnail, and you can get your selection back, or select and load selection. Either way, that's going to get the correct selection back into view. So the first thing is to go back to the layers panel. Currently I'm in the channels panel. Oh, that rhymes there, kind of like Dr. Seuss. Let's go to layers, and I want to make a brand new layer, and that takes going back down here in the layers panel. This new little piece of paper makes a new layer. Click on that, and we have an empty layer above our picture here. And with the selection, well, that means that whatever I have going into this, I'm going to actually fill it, and it's just going to go into the selection and not affect my picture underneath, because the whole point is the selection. Again, we want everything fully editable. If you fill the crown with a color right directly on the picture, then you've ruined your results. So what we want to use is a technique that we used before, blending modes. And if you haven't seen the tutorial on blending modes, go ahead and take a look at that, and how you can use blending modes with color layer or additional pictures to affect the layers underneath. So I'm going to take the selection, and I want to create a color, and just pick a color, and we can experiment with a number of layers, also turning these on and off. But if I select in the foreground color here, if I click on that and go to the color picker and select, well, how about something completely different? Again, maybe kind of a minty green color, maybe having something that has a little bit deeper of a color. Click OK. Try anything that you like, orange, red, any hue that you want. And I'm going to go ahead and fill the color. Edit fill. Okay, foreground color 100%. I could change the blending mode here, but I want to have some fun with it in the layers actually. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and it fills it with flat color. Alright, beautiful, isn't it? Well, yeah, okay, so not exactly, but I want you to see this close up. If you zoom in, and you can see here that partially picked pixels. You know, in our channels it was kind of a gray instead of black and white in some of the areas. That means that that's partially picked pixels, so it's somewhat see-through. It's got kind of a transparency to it. So that's what happens when we have a little bit of gray in the channel for our stored selection. Okay, so I'm going to deselect my selection because I want to see clearly what I'm doing. The last thing that we're going to do is go to our blending mode in the layers panel. Right now it's set to normal, and again I'm on a separate layer, and we can choose some sort of blending mode, and I would experiment. Okay, if you're in a Windows environment, if you select one of these and you have it highlighted, then you can use your up and down arrow keys. On a Macintosh, unfortunately, we can't flip through these so easily. I just have to actually click and select. Well, that gives it a nice effect there, and it looks pretty cool. But I can choose the different ones. That even looks more natural. Some of these may look rather harsh and give you some interesting, unexpected results. Lighten might do the trick, but that kind of looks over the top a little bit. So even working with some opacity or even mixing some colors in along with it. Another thing that you can do with this, and this is rather fun as well, is if I go back to the background here and I want to load the selection back in. So select, load selection. Okay, pick the, I'm going to pick the refined one because that's the last one that I did. Know your channels, okay? And I want to go ahead and copy what I have selected. You can do that. Go under Edit, Copy, and that means that I've copied whatever it is on this background layer, and it's in the temporary memory. In other words, I've quickly selected that, I've copied it, it's in memory, and if I paste it with my selection still there, it's going to paste it right where the selection is. If I take and remove the selection and paste it, it's going to paste anywhere like in the middle. But if I have my selection still selected and I go ahead and paste, then it's going to put it exactly on the top of what I've got here. Okay, so what I could do is I'm going to push that up just for experimentation's sake on the top of my other color here. And you can take the exact duplicate of the picture that you have and work with some of the blending modes, and it will affect it yet again over the top and things like that. So let's do overlay, and I'm going to turn this underneath one back on, or a color burn or multiply. Okay, it's giving me really different results here, and in fact part of the problem here is that I've got some edges there that I don't like, and so I may just choose to take the layer underneath and pull the opacity down on it a little bit. Another thing that I could do, refining the edge of the selection, I could bring the selection back. Okay, load the selection. Again, I got to choose which one that was. I'm going to turn this off. And if I were to possibly refine that selection just a little bit, go back under the Select drop-down menu. Boy, we're going to really learn a lot about the Selection drop-down menu. There's a way to refine my edge or modify it. Modifying it, I could feather the edge, meaning blur it a little bit more. I could contract by a certain number of pixels. That will roll it back or shrink my selection. Another thing is I could refine my edge of my selection. Okay, and that would mean I'm adjusting the edges here, smooth it out, feather it, and what I'm looking at is possibly shift the edge. You see here I'm doing it very drastically, and it makes the edge kind of shrink back a little bit, and so that's what I might want to do. The other direction, it's going to grow my selection. Oh wow, and I actually see that on my selection I still have some information, pixel information there. Okay, so I'm going to roll it back just a little bit. Click OK. Let's turn this back on. And yeah, it's much better than it was. So deselect that and darken it or something. So it's a little bit better than what I had going before it. And so you kind of have to adjust these things as we go along. So I would say make a lot of layers, do a new layer, use your selection, add more colors to it. You can mix the colors up with different colors if you want to. You don't have to have them all turned on. If you, well, Option or Alt Delete will fill that color again, and then you're really mixing it up quite a bit. Okay, so you can get some really good color results. Now save your work and go to it, guys. Have fun.